Hey there guys, it's your boy Kingxley here. Welcome back to another video. Yes, on this video I'm going to talk about how did I find motivation in Formula 1 part 2. I'm going to talk about specific events. I'm going to talk about like a review of one season. I'm going to talk about the impact that Formula 1 can have on people. I'm going to give you so many tips and just things to pick up on. So stay tuned for the video. So to help me talk a little bit with the video, I'm going to use my computer so we can have a look at some articles that I've chosen to help me kind of describe some situations, that has happened, and talk about some icons. So let's go. So I just want to start off by saying that Formula 1 drivers, they play a role where they play a role similar to like football players, Whereas, sometimes football players, we have Lionel Messi, we have Cristiano Ronaldo, we have Kylian Mbappe, we have Lewandowski. There's so many players that are playing football right now, and also, there's Ronaldo, R9, some of the GOATs, let's say, of the past. And what we can pick up on all football players is that they play a role of like a role model, like almost like an icon model that we look up to. Like as fans, we like the way they play, we like what they did in the world of football. Maybe because they were playing for a team that we supported, or maybe because for some professional football players, an example of Kylian Mbappe, he looked up to Cristiano Ronaldo, he looked up to Thierry Henry. And what is happening is that because Kylian Mbappe grew up in an environment where football is his passion, and he always wanted to be a football player. He analyzed those footballers like Cristiano Ronaldo and Thierry Henry and stuff like that, and he analyzed the game as they all do. They analyze the way they play and they try to mimic it. They try to learn from it, and that's why someone like Erling Haaland, someone like Kylian Mbappe are so effective in the way that they play, in the way that they do, because there's that role model kind of aspect. So to put that into context in the things that we do in this channel, you can have a role model, just like I can have a role model and stuff like that. And like for example, in your life, no matter like where you are, there's always someone like that, maybe like a celebrity or something like that, that has been similar things to you. So I can do that, like I can talk for me, and it's so simple, like it's so effective because these people, it's possible that they're in the same situation as you. Me, I've found so many people that have been in the same situation as me, and it's not like I know these people on a personal level. I don't, but I follow them maybe because they are music artists. So the songs that they sing, the things that they write, maybe in books that they have wrote, they talk about what has happened in the past. And what has happened, sometimes when I read it, is I can almost feel like it was the same thing that happened to me, the same situation. And finding out how they did is for me one of the motivation. I'm like, oh, if this is how they've done it, maybe this is how I did it as well. So it motivates me to keep going, because the thing that he did or she did has worked for them, and I can do the same. Or I can be like, I didn't choose to do that, but we're in the same situation, but maybe I can learn from the way that they did, so then I can do it to exceed. So there's so many ways like this that is so effective, to walk forward. And that's why this is one of the reasons why I look up to Formula 1 so much, and I encourage people to watch Formula 1. And I'm sure, what's crazy is because I'm sure that there's people out there, like young drivers, that do the same, no matter what they are. Maybe they're not even, racing at all, or maybe they looking at the video right now, or maybe, they are just starting in racing, just maybe like karting with friends and stuff like that. They enjoy it. The fact that like right now they might just enjoy it, but the more they look at the Formula 1 and stuff like that, the techniques, all of the technical aspect of the sport, they'll learn from it, and they'll learn from like the drivers that are on top of the sport, and they might be the next star that is going to come up to this sport. So that's one of the aspects that I wanted to talk about. So a good example of what we just talked about is George Russell. So recently, George Russell has been announced as Lewis Hamilton's teammate, and there's been pictures of him that has emerged to social media and stuff like that, where we see the young George, maybe at the age of, let's say, 4 to 6, with books of Lewis Hamilton, and obviously Lewis Hamilton was in the picture as well, and he was asking for an autograph. So we can say from that picture that George Russell may have been of Lewis Hamilton's fan. He was approaching him for like an autograph, so you can at that point of time, I don't think that George would have thought that he would have been Lewis Hamilton teammate for the season that is to come, But one thing that is for sure, and I'm sure of it, is that he was racing. He was in the world of maybe motorsport, maybe karting and stuff like that. And to think that from a young age he met Lewis Hamilton, and to see where he is now, obviously that's part of progress. And obviously George Russell is just an example, and there's so many drivers like that. Another example could be Carlos Sainz Jr. You have Mick Schumacher, and the list goes on. Charles Leclerc. So many drivers that we talked about in the first part of the last video applies to here now. Max Verstappen also. So yeah, guys. So now, as I promised you guys, we're gonna jump onto the computer, and we're gonna look at different articles that I've chosen. So the first article that I've chosen is from The Guardian, and it talks about the German Grand Prix that has happened in 2018. So to give you guys a bit of a backstory and some context, this is the 2018 season, really like just the Germany, and here on the title it says that Lewis Hamilton wins a dramatic German Grand Prix. So to be honest, the story starts on Saturday. On Saturday, in Formula One, all drivers have to qualify. Qualify just means drivers try to complete a fastest lap, the fastest time, in order to start the race in the highest position that they can. So on this Saturday, Lewis Hamilton, who is someone that is chasing the championship, that means he's someone that needs to win, someone that needs to finish as high as possible. He is in the qualifying session just like any other drivers, and he wants to qualify first essentially, but unfortunately he hasn't been able to finish first. On the article it says that he started actually 14th on the grid, as you can see it here. When we look at autosport is just a motorsport website, and it's a motorsport company. They have the data of all the drivers, where they started and essentially where they finished. And so when we look at the classification, you can see obviously Lewis Hamilton is 14th in the Mercedes car with a lap of 1 minute 13. And when we look at his teammate, someone who is essentially in the same car as him, he actually started second with a lap around 1 minute 11 something. So you can see that there is something odd that has happened. And for those of you that's curious, he actually qualified 14th because he had issues with his gearbox or something. So you could see that something was odd. Normally in Formula One, when you qualify outside of the top 6, it is very difficult, and very, very difficult to actually finish in first position. It's not impossible, but it's difficult because you have also other competitors that have a car that's competitive, maybe as fast as the fastest car essentially, so as fast as Lewis. They have, it's another approach to the race. People that start first, they tend to be a bit more aggressive in terms of they want to have the fastest tires that will degrade a lot more quicker. And it's a lot of technical aspect of the sport, but that's not why I came to talk. I came here to talk about the race and what Lewis Hamilton did to actually finish first, as we just talked about. So from 14th position, he finished first. And so obviously we can read the article later, but for a typical the typical Grand Prix in Formula One is around, let's say, 70 laps, 50 to 70 laps. So it's a lot of laps. And there's images of Lewis Hamilton, at the end of the qualifying session, down on his car with his head down, obviously disappointed, and knowing how much he needed to qualify first in order to keep, let's say, his championship hope alive, his championship hopes alive. So, the mentality, if we just take a look at the mentality that Lewis Hamilton had approaching even the race, I can't imagine what was going through his head, but there's a lot of qualities that he has shown. I think the first thing that he has shown is the resilience, the fact that he didn't want to settle for 14th, didn't want to settle for anything lower than first place when first place was available to him. When he started the race, he didn't know what to do in terms of, he didn't know if he was gonna get he was gonna damage anything, if he was in his own bubble. And that's why I love Solomon so much, is that when you compete and when you're in your car, you are focused on yourself, and he's just focused on his own performance, his own race, his own craft, let's say. So it doesn't matter what other people do, So you can say, in a way, he was thinking of the long game, He wasn't aggressive, he wasn't, trying to rectify things right away, because in an environment like this, there's a lot of pressure. Just like when, like any other sport where a competitor is supposed to win the race, or supposed to win a match, or supposed to win a competition, there's so many pressure on the person that actually needs to win that the other competitors, they don't have that much pressure, so they're quite laid back, and it allows them to focus on what they need to do. They know they won't finish first, or they know they're not supposed to finish first. So for them, it's a lot easier to focus, to do what they need to do. But for Lewis Hamilton, because he's so used to this feeling, let's say, he knows how to play the long game. He knows, it's even for those of you that actually gonna maybe watch the highlight of this race, he is even able to make his own mind up, his own decisions, to the point where he doesn't really listen to his team anymore. It can be, obviously, it's not something that you should be doing, your team is there with you. But essentially, as a leader, he's able to say that, okay, like, my team is thinking this, but I'm the one doing the race, and I don't think this is the right decision. And to be honest, as a result, you can see the result of what he has done. He actually finished first. So yeah. So there, guys. I think to resume the skills that you need, or the things to take away from this thing that I was trying to show you with the German Grand Prix and the race where we see Lewis Hamilton finish first. I think the first skill that you have to remember is the resilience. So resilience just means that you don't really give up, or resilience is like fighting back, fighting back in terms of when you're down, you want to fight back, but in a good way, in terms of you want to prove people wrong, maybe, or you want to prove to yourself that you can do it. So that's the first thing, that the resilience, because in that situation, as we have seen and as we have said, that Lewis Hamilton could have easily gave up, or he could have easily just be happy with the minimum, because obviously in this sport, if you're in the top 10, from the 10th position, you're starting to win points. So Lewis Hamilton's approach could have just been, I will settle for 10th, or any position maybe around that area, 8th, 9th, 10th, let's say even 5th or 6th, and it would have been a damage limitation race. That means we try to limit the mistakes that we have done, but he hasn't done that. He has gone and basically exceeded the expectations to get exactly what he wanted, what he needed, and no one could have done a better race than him. No one could have, can say like they've done a better race than him. The second thing that you have to bear in mind also, that I didn't talk about, is you have to be opportunistic. Obviously, as I've said earlier, races are quite long. They are from 50 to, let's say, 70, even 80 laps races, depending on where they go. Some tracks are longer than others, that's why we have different numbers of laps. But obviously in a race, there's so many things that can happen. Drivers can crash, you can have a safety car, there's so many technical things that can happen, and in that particular race, things have happened, one of the leaders of the race, Sebastian Vettel, actually crashed out of the race, and that was his home race. So he's German, and he crashed out of the race at his home race. That obviously offered the first place to another driver except of him, who actually qualified first. And also near the end of the race, Lewis Hamilton could have easily lost the first place to Valtteri Bottas, because he was right behind him, and with instructions from the team, because obviously they're from the same team as we said before, he was allowed to keep that first place and just finish the race. That was the most important thing. Just finish the race in the positions that you are in. So you do have to be opportunistic, and opportunities in this scenario and in this sport is obviously there's a lot of opportunities, but it's hard to see where they are sometimes. The reason I say that is because with the approach that Lewis Hamilton has to take to finish first in a race like this, he has to manage the race in terms of he needs to manage in terms of not be too aggressive but not be too conservative. And that is something that can apply to your life, in terms of sometimes, every day when you have an aim, you're not going to be. Sometimes it's good also not to be on it every day, in terms of not being aggressive, let's say, or not to be like thinking about it and doing it every day, because sometimes you might burn you out, just like a tire will just be used and you have to change it after a few laps. But you don't want to be too conservative in terms of I'll do it, put it in later, and then you end up not doing it. In that scenario, you end up finishing where you started. So you do want to have a balance, in terms of maybe like a timetable. I have my timetable right there. That's why I look that way. And so you know exactly when you're doing it, and you know when you're not doing it, maybe you're doing something else that contributes to that. And that alludes to one of the videos that I've done about how to set your goals. So yeah, now we're gonna have a look at two seasons, and you'll see what we're going to talk about. So just to resume with you guys some of the skills that we just talked about. So the first thing is resilience. Resilience is the ability to come back from toughness, something that's been tough. So that's exactly what Lewis Hamilton has done. He just recovered himself from a position where he was not supposed to be in, or maybe like a difficult situation, being 14th on the grid. Obviously, that's not what he wanted to start. So that's the resilience, just the fighting back kind of spirit. The second thing is to be opportunistic, as we talked about. So many opportunities during the race, so many, things that is happening. It doesn't matter, that's why I like Formula 1, because it doesn't matter what kind of like the aspect of what's happening around you, because I feel like it's important for me to say that, because some of the people that might go down for you to go up might be people that is close to you. It can happen. There's situations like this. Obviously, let's say if we come back to this example of Formula 1, it could have been that his teammate actually crashed out of the race. So like Valtteri Bottas crashed out of the race and gives the first place to Lewis Hamilton. It could have happened, and you shouldn't feel bad, because obviously you're just being opportunistic. If it wasn't caused by you or something like that, you just have to take what's coming your way. And obviously that's just a scenario. It didn't happen in real life, but it's just an example of it doesn't matter kind of what's happening around you. Just be opportunistic. Seize the opportunity when it comes to you, because most things in life, if they happen to you, they happen to you for a reason, And the third thing, obviously, is the spirit of not giving up. I already talked about this. You always hear me repeat that again and again, but really, that's really what happened. You didn't give up, didn't give up anything, when he started to where he finished, he didn't give up. And what I mean by didn't give up, he didn't drop, in terms of his belief. The self-belief is always there. And it's so important, it's so important, the self-belief, because I feel like in this sport and in any things in life, you need to have that tunnel vision, that vision of the future, what can happen in the future. You don't know what can happen, in football. You don't know what can happen in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. One goal, it can change the whole match. And it's the same thing for here. One person that crashed out, one thing that can happen, it can create a scenario, a safety car, something like that. And even in this sport, there are engineers that are that are employed to basically preempt those things. What do we do if that happens? And this is exactly what you need to do, in your own life. Not necessarily plan out your life, but think about what are the possibilities of things that can happen that is actually positive. Not always things that are negative that can happen from the situation, but you put both of the situations in your hands, and you have to balance it out. What is the best thing that can happen? What is the worst thing that can happen? And from there, you will be able to make a decision. And the fourth thing, let me have a look at. The fourth thing is to actually is to just embrace it, embrace the victory, embrace the reward that you get, because obviously Los Santos finished first. His engineer congratulated him. He congratulated the team. And it contributes to the experience that you get. You know that you have achieved it, you will know how you did it and stuff like that. So it's really important to embrace when you win, because obviously when you lose it's difficult. So embrace the win. So now we're gonna have a look at the 2020 season. So the Formula 1 2020 season, to give you guys a bit of context, it's a season where it was actually COVID. So a lot of things shifted, from the beginning of the season. So at the beginning of the season, most people, including me, the fans, the drivers, everybody just thought we were gonna have a normal Formula 1 season like we always had, but actually it didn't happen the way they planned because of COVID. So COVID shifted a lot of things. The calendar, that means the races where they were supposed to race at, it was changing all the time, and so it created a new dynamic. It created a new dynamic to the sport where basically a lot of drivers that are not used to winning, not used to finishing in high positions, actually finished in positions that they didn't expect, and it gave a really, really, really good vision to the sport. A really good vision to the sport, and so that's what I wanted to talk about, because I want you guys to feel that. And also, this is the 2020 season, but there will be another video just after this video that talks about the 2022 season, which will highlight a lot of the 2020 season in terms of having the chance to step up, you are now given the chance to be the winner, because sometimes with the example that I just gave you with top teams and stuff like that, it can be hard for drivers to finish in higher positions than where the performance of the car are. It's like saying it's really difficult for a low team in football, to finish higher than what they are because of the quality of the players. But now it's like everybody have the same players, or everybody have same or similar machinery. So now you have been given a chance to actually step up, and I want you guys to know, I want to teach you guys how to know how to approach it and how to make the best out of it, essentially. So there, guys, so to talk about the Formula 1, the 2020 season, there are two articles that I mainly chose. They all named the season 2020 recap. And I'm not really going to talk about what happened, but I just want to show you guys something very specific. So here, what I want you guys to see are the different winners and podium finishes and performances that, it's almost like a one-off. It's like a one-off. That means we are not used to see these people. We're not used to see these people in those positions before. But somehow during the calendar, during the season, they were able to achieve those results. And there are two websites that we're gonna look at, and obviously we're gonna talk about them just later. So the first one that we see here is Norris scores his first podium. That's in the Australian Grand Prix. So we have Gasly wins a Grand Prix, Italian Grand Prix says. Lewis Hamilton equals Schumacher for 91st win. We have Albon scores his first podium. We have Perez gets a maiden win and Ocon gets his first podium. Verstappen gets a second win. Okay, Mercedes scores a double. And looking at the other one, so Top Gear says again, Lando Norris has his first podium. Nico Hülkenberg, actually, he finished third in one of the qualifying sessions. We saw Max Verstappen, Gasly, he has won. We've seen that before. Albon, his first podium, Hamilton, and then okay, Hamilton. So Daniel Ricciardo gets a first podium again, gets his podium like for his new team wins the tattoo. He had a bet with a tattoo with his boss, and we have Lance Stroll on pole in Turkey, and so I think George Russell almost wins a race. He drives for a brand new team as a one-off, and as we've seen before, Sergio Perez wins the race. So it's just obviously it's a lot of information compacted into one. It's really quick. That was just a few seconds, but you just saw with the two articles that there's been new people on the podium, new people that have won races, new people that we didn't expect them in pole position on top. And it's a positive change for the sport. It's a positive change, and these statistics and those things that just happen is good because it just shows you that it is possible. It is possible. Like, it is possible to finish first. It is possible to seize the opportunities when they come. It is possible to have this belief, and it's just to show you that for those of you that actually follow Formula One, in Formula One since, let's say, 2014, there has only been, let's say, one team and one driver that has constantly won everything all the time. But there's been a change, as you've seen now. There's not a domination anymore. And so for me, this is what I want you guys to take with you, is that, like, in this life you can't write anything off. That's what I'm trying to say. Basically, you can't write anything off. There are so many opportunities, and we've seen the opportunity, like the seizing the opportunity with the article that we read with Lewis Hamilton. But it's just to show you that there are opportunities that you can't write anything off, and that the way you approach life, don't be, let's say, closed-minded. Be open-minded. Be ready for a change. Be ready for when the time comes. You know what to do, kind of thing. And obviously, we will approach it. We will talk about it. And we'll train. I will train you guys even more when the time comes with this video that comes after that. But I hope that you guys were able to see that it's for those of you that needs maybe like a context. Is like saying, like in football, like a lower team just finishes higher, maybe in the Champions League, maybe in the Europa League, something that we didn't expect. Broke out, like, with the odds, like they we didn't expect them to be there, but they finished there. So it is so positive. This is what I mostly find my motivation, mainly because when I see, for example, Gasly, for those of you that knows him and that seen the way he's won the race, the competitiveness, the way he was waving about on the track to not let the person behind him overtake him, not waving to block him, wave him so then he doesn't get the air that comes behind the car. You see Lance Stroll, for example, that we just seen, has pole position in a wet kind of environment. Most drivers they are really used to wet, and there's drivers that are a lot better than him in the wet. But controlling yourself, controlling your car, controlling, being in that mental state where you're so focused on nailing everything to win this. George Russell that just jumped into the Mercedes as a one-off, no preparation whatsoever. He doesn't race for Mercedes in 2020. Now he does race for Mercedes in 2022, and he jumps into the car as a one-off, and he topped the time for most sessions except the race. I don't know if you realize how crazy that is. It's like you're going to a brand new team. You are in lower team, now you're going to a top team as not on loan, but just as a one-off for just 2-3 games, and you're already scoring goals, already having assists and stuff like that, with no preparation in terms of you don't know really the tactic, or you haven't been trained in the tactic. You haven't really been trained. You've not attended training because it's a quick thing. It's a one-off, and to be so dominant, it really shows the quality that this boy has in him. And obviously those are just
a few examples that I'm highlighting from what we have just seen, but I hope that you understood what I was trying to say out of all of the examples that I was able to give you with the 2020 season. And and then the 22 seasons we're going to talk about. At the moment when I'm recording the video, it hasn't started yet. We're in February of 2022, just beginning of February, and the season has not started yet. But I'm not gonna. That means I don't know what happens. I don't know the results. I don't know who is on top, who's in. I don't know any of that. But all I know is that there is an opportunity for all 20 drivers and all 10 teams to finish on top of each other, and we were going to look at this on the next video on how to approach it, how to approach an environment where everything has been reset. Essentially everybody's on the same base, and now they all have to make gains basically to finish on top and as high as they can.
So there guys, that rounds up today's video on how I find motivation in Formula 1. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you was able to take things away from it. I tried to highlight some of the qualities, some of the skills that I thought I was seeing in front of the computer. And obviously stay tuned for the next video. I told you guys what it is. It's a bit of a preview and overview on the season that is yet to come, the 22 seasons, where as I've said, there will be new cars, there are actually new drivers. It's a new season, and this season is different from the other seasons that's been before, because it's new cars. So that means no more domination, new thing, and everybody's starting from scratch. The people that make this sport promise essentially closer racing, equal racing, and that means that for ambitious people that want to have their inspiration of becoming a world champion, maybe becoming a race winner, maybe whatever their ambition, there is an opportunity that is coming their way, and I'm sure you guys relate to it. If you're an ambitious person and you envision yourself maybe being a leader of a company, having a promotion in what you do, being someone that is making, I don't know, films and whatever is your ambition, there's an opportunity, just like there's an opportunities for these 20 drivers of the 2022 season, and I want you guys to be in the best position possible, basically to just kind of show you, teach you, talk about the things that you should be doing, the things that you can do, maybe the planning, the methods, and all of that. So yeah, do stay tuned for this video. But for this video, I can't thank you enough for watching it. As you know, you can like the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment. Is it a good video, is it a bad video? What's your opinion about Formula 1, about football, about sports in general? If you have any examples for those of you that follow another sport like cycling, the Olympics. If you have an example, you can be, this athlete did this athlete did that. You can share it as also on this video. We talked about the role model, we talked about icons. So who's your icon? You can share them in the comments. You might be helping someone out, you never know. But yeah, do share the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.